Going on YouTube? Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. Hope you guys are planning, having a great time, doing what you need to do, and most importantly, hope you guys are still in that preparation mode, doing what you need to do if you're possibly getting ready to enter into a federal prison sentence. As you guys know, that's pretty much what we do here. Is we help people that are preparing in order to head off to federal prison, get ready for federal prison. Maybe you're under indictment, maybe you're under investigation, maybe you're just not sure what to do at all. And most importantly, this is for the person going through it as well as the friends and family. So when people say, what do? We say we are consultants for families that are getting ready for a federal prison sentence, because as we all know, you're not just going into this by yourself. You're going into this with those who are around you, that care about you, that love you, that are going through this with you. So make sure you're being appreciative to them if they're supporting you in this really, really struggling time of need. Now, also, make sure if you haven't done so, you go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Tap the subscribe button. Make sure you also press that notification button, the bell. That way you'll receive notifications of our live updates when we're getting ready to go live. Any upcoming videos we got going on. Also, texting the word YouTube to 35074 will put you on our text message notification list. This will let you know of any upcoming videos, of what's going on, if anything's going to change, schedule changes, things like that. We usually do that by text because we've got a little over 300 people that are in the text message group right now. And as you can see on the screen, 2,000 subscribers. So I would like to say thank you to all of you who have made that possible. We hit 2,000 subscribers actually yesterday, and it's all to people just like you have continued to watch this channel, and for those of you that have shared it and brought in new people, whether they found us through Google or word of mouth or just social media. I appreciate it. Can't thank you guys enough. If you want to get your RDAP Dan wristband, we've got 3 colors. We've got white, which I'm wearing. We've got hot pink, and we've got, we'll call this baby blue. I got baby blue because it matches my eyes. What do you guys think? It's pretty. You can't see my eyes from here, but my eyes are pretty. That's what oh man, I'm blocking my face with the YouTube. There we go. Is that better? Okay, so anyway, 2,000 subscribers. So appreciate it. The wristbands are absolutely free. There is a link in the description for you to fill out a quick little form so we can mail them to you. Just make sure you fill that information out correctly so it goes to the right address. Those of you that maybe have already received your bracelet, please, I'd love to hear from you, or send me a picture of you wearing it. The idea of the bracelets aren't just because I think they're really cool, even though I do. They go with different outfits, so they're great for making a fashion statement, but also they are there to help you stay focused when you're catching yourself dwelling on negativity, or you're having a rough day, or you're thinking about a possible prison term you have coming up. When you look down and see your bracelet, the idea of it is to trigger a thought pattern to stop dwelling on that negativity and do something positive, whether pick up a book, go exercise, go have a conversation with your family, pick up the phone and call somebody in your mentor group. Maybe that's me, maybe that's a friend, maybe that's your attorney, maybe it's your probation officer. But the goal is these bracelets are to trigger a response. And when you see it when you're wearing it on your wrist and you catch yourself and you see it, it's a reminder. So use your bracelet as an awesome reminder. Who do we got? We got Scott in the room. What's going on, Scott? We've got Tamara, John Goff, Hawk. Hey, Hawk. Patty, Mr. Merrick. All right, we got a good turnout today. Welcome, guys. Thank you for all joining us. As you can see, the title in the video, next week is going to be exciting. So we've got the lineup. Next week, we're going to be doing a few things. Monday, we're going to be interviewing one of our clients, Scott Partick. He was actually sentenced yesterday. So Scott's been a client now for, I would say, a few months. And we're going to go into detail with Scott on how his journey has been from prior to getting involved with us, during getting involved with us, how his sentencing was. Obviously, he wasn't remanded, or else he wouldn't be able to be here Monday. So he was not remanded at sentencing yesterday. And we're going to talk about his sentence and what he thought and how the outcome was. So we're really excited to have Scott on. What's going on, Chevy? We got Chevy in the room. Chevy's actually one of our clients as well. So welcome, Chevy. Glad you could join us. Wednesday, ladies' night. You know, we try to do ladies' night whenever we can. Sometimes it's not always possible because there's not always somebody available. But Wednesday, we'll be talking with the amazing Amy Povah, as long as everything goes to plan. Amy is the founder of an organization called Can Do Foundation. And Can Do Foundation has a huge presence in bringing awareness to people being sentenced to ridiculously long sentences for nonviolent crimes especially. That's where her focus is, on helping people receive clemency, sentence reductions. She's got some great information for a lot of you that maybe have some loved ones that are in prison, that have been in prison for a very long time or are facing a very long sentence. So we're going to have Amy Povah on Wednesday evening. So we got Scott on Monday night. We got Amy on Wednesday evening. And then Saturday, a week from today, hopefully this is going to be a new regular segment. A gentleman by the name of Brandon Croson, who I had the awesome, fortunate experience to be. I met him while I was in the Federal Halfway House. Brandon is a inspiring chef. He's actually, I think right now he's actually working as a chef. He's also going to school, and he makes amazing food. Also, while he was in federal prison, Brandon also went through RDAP, so it'll be some interesting conversation. Brandon's going to be showing us how to make some really interesting prison meals based off the majority of the items that you can get off of the commissary. There may be a few techniques he throws in with some stuff that came out of the chow hall here or there, but we're going to do our best to stick to commissary wish list items on what you can purchase in a commissary and what kind of interesting meals you can make. Believe it or not, I know it's not something that's going to help somebody reduce their sentence, but it is a very, very common question we receive are, what's the prison food like? What's the commissary like? How healthy can I eat? Am I going to get fat in prison? So there's no single right or wrong answer to that, but Brandon is going to be joining us. And if this segment kicks off well and we keep it going, we're going to have a Saturday segment called Cooking with Croson. So we're going to be in the kitchen. We're going to be throwing down. We're going to go get some ingredients this week, and we're going to do our best to purchase everything as if it were off the commissary. We might have to substitute a few items because some things that you get on commissary you just can't get in the real world. So I hope you guys look forward to that. I won't be there live, Dan, but I'm eager to hear what she has to say. Tomorrow, and that's the beautiful thing about these recordings, is all of our live streams stay up. I know a lot of people do live streams and they're only live, and after they're done, so you have to watch it live. Even though it can be long and drawn out sometimes, we like to leave that content up. MM, hi Dan, love the concept of the bracelets. MM, make sure you get your bracelet. We got white, hot pink, baby blue to match my eyes. They're absolutely free. All you got to do is click on the link in the description. I also posted it in the top of this chat. You can click on the link there as well. There is an option to donate. So if you do want to donate, it's awesome if you can. The money, again, does not go to us. That money, well, it comes to us, but we use that money to help people that are in the prison system that are less fortunate, that maybe need some commissary items, need some hygiene products, need minutes for their phone, need to buy stamps, trying to buy some warmer clothes, things like that. So anything you guys are able to help out with, chip in. No donation is too small. It is all much appreciated. But just remember, it is not necessary. No purchase necessary for your bracelets. So thank you again for those of you that have donated. I'd like to say the majority of you have been sending in donations, which has been amazing. And it really does get utilized in an amazing way, and people are very, very appreciative. So thank you very much for that. Gianni, good morning, Dan. Yes, I put in my order for my bracelet a couple weeks ago. If you did it a couple weeks ago, you should either already have received it or be receiving it really soon. If you put in your order more than 10 days ago, please shoot me an email and let me know if you have not received it. In the email, make sure you put your address where it was mailed to. I will double check with the address that you guys listed on the intake form or the bracelet form, whatever you want to call it. Make sure that it wasn't shipped to the wrong address. Mr. Merrick, is there anything you got commissary that you miss and can't get in free world? Yeah. So Mr. Merrick's asking me, is there anything that I was able to purchase on commissary that I cannot get in the free world? Now, I'm not going to say that I cannot get it, but it's not the same version. So mackerel, believe it or not, mackerel, the smelly little fish, the mackerel that they sold in prison, they're in pouches, they're deboned, so there's no bone in them. And, you know, I would rinse them out, add a little water, rinse it out again just to get some of the salt or the sodium out of it. I'd mix it with a little mayonnaise and hot sauce and put it on crackers, and it was amazing. everywhere I go around here looking for mackerel, it's all the big chunk mackerel, but it's got tons of bones in it. So you got to go through that like deboning process, and I'm just not down for that. It's too much work for. It's just not worth it. But that is something that I definitely do miss. Tower P message retracted. Not sure what Tower said, but he retracted his message. Let it go, Tower. Just let it all out. If it's inappropriate, I got you. I'll go ahead and delete it behind you. But yeah, that's one of the things that we do miss, Mr. Merrick, for sure. That I miss anyway. And when I first got to prison, I remember it was my first couple of days there, and I was in a unit. I was in A1 was the unit I was in, but because I wore the prison costume in there, they thought maybe I was crazy. So they put me in the front of the unit in this room that they called the fishbowl. It was like you could see it pretty much from everywhere. And they called it the fishbowl because when people walk by, they can look in like they're looking into a fish tank. And I was in what's called the fishbowl with about 6 or 7 other guys. Most of the guys in there were either like wheelchair bound or they had emotional disabilities where they were borderline maybe crazy. So they stuck me in there for maybe my first week. And I think it was for 2 reasons. 1, to make sure I wasn't crazy. And 2, they felt like they really couldn't do anything to me for wearing a costume in, but that was their version of punishment. And it was a little crazy at first because it was just, I felt like I was in a crazy place. But we were right next to where they would do a lot of the cooking by where the microwaves were. And I would just smell mackerel all the time. And it made me want to throw up. And I'm like, how does anybody eat that? Because it is an option. It is a choice to eat the mackerel. There's other things on commissary that you can purchase chicken breast. You can purchase tuna fish instead of mackerel. I'm like, why would you eat mackerel when you have better options and better choices for almost the same price? Tuna was a little bit more expensive than mackerel. The chicken breast was quite a bit more expensive, but still, tuna smelled way better than mackerel and looked way better. But towards halfway through to 3/4 into my sentence, I don't know where it happened. Next thing I knew, I was eating mackerel on everything. Mackerel in burritos, mackerel on pizza, mackerel in, I mean, you name it, mackerel on crackers. And I really developed an appetite for it. And, you know, it's got your omega-3s in there and all that good stuff. So it was definitely not the most unhealthy thing to be eating. Something else that we're going to be focusing on coming up here in the next few weeks is our prison fit section. There is going to be a prison fit section on the website, and we'll probably also create a playlist for it here. Directly, I always talk about, my camera's mounted or else I would show it to you guys, but really directly across the street right here, there is an amazing gym called, gosh, name just jumped out of my head. I'll think of the name in a minute and tell it to you guys, but it's an amazing gym that's got an amazing concept with just a great atmosphere, and it's very circuit training related, a lot of circuit classes, and they're very open to me coming in there doing a prison fit theme for some classes that they're not already performing. Push-up classes, burpee classes, some prison circuit classes. They run a lot of classes that are very prison-esque from what I remember, but there's some stuff that they don't do that we really focused on in prison that they're interested in for, you know, multiple reasons. One, it's who doesn't want to go check out a class that has the word prison fit in its title. So they're going to let me have my way with some classes. So we'll see how that goes out, and we'll be making video and creating videos for that for those of you that want to maybe get involved and learn some prison workout. So we're really looking forward to that. Kira Smalls. Hey, Dan. Hope you're having a blessed day. I just found out my brother is in administrative segregation. Administrative segregation is a nice way of saying isolation. Sorry to hear that, unless it was like by his choice. If you want to elaborate and tell us a little bit about what's going on with your brother, you know, we'd love to hear your story. Feel free to share it in here, or feel free to email me and let me know if there's something that we can do to help out. Everybody takes prison and deals with it in a different way. So it can be rough. We have another client that's been in solitaire now for tomorrow's son. Has been in solitaire for months, and he actually has gotten to a point where he prefers that because it's really allowed him time to think and process and realize that maybe he didn't have it all figured out, and he's using this time that he's in solitaire now to really engage with himself. So when he does get released from prison, he's writing down plans, taking action, talking about how he's going to achieve his goals. You know, it's one thing just to plan. It's one thing to say, when I get out, I'm going to do this, this, and this. You have to have an action plan. You have to have steps in place. What are you going to do to obtain that goal? And what are you going to do if you hit a roadblock? How are you mentally prepared? Is it going to trigger you out to where you can't respond now and you can't act? Because remember, not everything is always going to work according to plan. That doesn't mean don't have a plan. That just means realize you're going to have a plan, and sometimes you may have to have the ability to go with the flow, but sticking to the overall plan. Sounds easier than it is. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe some of you are like, yeah, I get that. Maybe some of you are like, I got this all figured out. No matter where you are in your journey right now, the one thing you can count on is change. There will be change. There will be things that you think now that you think differently on later. And all of that is just going to process to where it needs to be. The important thing to remember is when you're doing things, do them for the right reason. And that was an amazing conversation I had with Scott today, our client that's going to be on with us Monday. Listening to him talk, you could just hear the sincerity in his voice. To where he's at in his mind right now, which is a great place to be in. And he's going to tell us all about that on Monday. Chevy, how was your first 24 to 48 hours from surrender to the time you got to your living area? Well, Chevy, I surrendered at on September 23rd, 2014. I had to be there by 2 p.m. So I think I got there around 1 p.m. if I remember correctly, 12:30, 1 o'clock, something like that. I was processed in pretty quick, despite the fact that I wore the prison costume in and it pissed them off, and they ripped it off me and they put me in the solitary confinement for probably only maybe an hour, hour and a half while they processed me. You know, they took a UA, they took a DNA sample of my saliva. So they took a saliva sample. They took my urine test. I tested negative. Or I'm sorry, I tested positive for marijuana or for THC at that point. They were giving me some shit, letting me know that, hey, we could take you to the medium right now if you want to act like this. And that did, you know, they did get in my head. I was scared. I wasn't like, I got this. I was definitely a little like, fuck, did I screw up by wearing this prison costume in? So I don't recommend you do that. Worked out good for me in the end, but I don't recommend that you do that. Let's see if I can move this, make it smaller. There we go, because I keep stepping in front of it. So I don't recommend you wearing your prison costume into the prison. Now, from that point, they processed me. They brought me out into basically the main compound, not the yard, but the compound of where the dorms were all surrounding. So there was like A dorm, B dorm, C dorm. Then you had your chow hall and library and you know, unicorn. You had all the different things. I could see it all from where they brought me out. There's just this big giant open, almost like a high school campus or a college campus is the best way to describe the way it looked. So it wasn't like the football field where everything was. It was the college campus section of where you'd walk to and from classes. So I'm standing out there and they basically point. They're like, that's the unit you're going to right there, A1. You're on your own. And you can't walk through the grass. So I had to walk all the way around through the little sidewalks and went to A1. Didn't know what to do. Just got there. I'm just kind of like, it's these two big giant, like, steel doors or whatever the, not concrete, steel doors or whatever the prison doors are made out of. And I opened the door, went in, and there's just inmates standing around everywhere looking at me. You know, new guy, new fish, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's staring at me. A couple of guys came up to me. I didn't know where to go. And they're like, oh, you got to go see that CO over there. So I went in. And when I went in to see the COs, the case manager or the unit manager that was on duty, they must have known I was coming. They must have said, hey, we're sending over inmate Y's or whatever. There was about 5 or 6 guys in the office sitting there. COs, sergeants, lieutenants, they were all sitting there. And I walked in and they're like, are you, whatever they asked me, are you Daniel Wise or inmate Wise or what's your BOP number? They asked me something along those lines. Gave them the information and they were just dying of hysteria. They were laughing so hard because the fact that I wore this prison costume in, and they were just really kind of giving me a hard time. They busted my balls and I really didn't know what to do. That's when I found out I had a detainer. That's when I found out why I was at a low versus a camp. They're like, oh, you got an open detainer. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, you got an open charge out of Georgia. I was like, well, for what? And they're like, you got to figure that out. It's not our job. And they continued laughing at me for wearing in the prison costume. So they put me in the fishbowl. A couple of guys came up to me right away, like, hey man, here, somebody gave me a cup. You guys have seen the cup that I use, Shelly's prison cup. It's just a cup just like that, plastic cup. Some guys gave me some coffee, maybe a couple of soups, a candy bar, you know, basic things like that. Some sugar, just some basic things. And then a lot of guys would come up to me and say, hey, if you don't mind us asking, what are you in prison for? Because remember, I'm at a low security prison. So at a low security prison, you know there are sex offenders in the prison. So a lot of people ask me, what are you in for? And I was like, oh, conspiracy to distribute. To distribute what? Oxycodone. How many oxycodones? And where did you, and what was your involvement? Like, and I was like, oh, I worked for a doctor's. I mean, they were just drilling me with questions. And in my mind, I'm like, man, why are they asking me all of these questions? Finally, this guy named Rick, can't remember his last name. This guy, Rick, said, hey, I'm just going to ask you, are you in here for like a sex offense crime or pictures? I was like, oh no. He's like, because honestly, you don't look like a drug dealer. You don't look like, you know, like you're in a gang. You know, you just kind of don't really fit the bill of somebody that was, you know, conspiracy to distribute oxycodone. I remember I was overweight. I had this big grizzly beard at that point. And I was like, I mean, I don't really have any paperwork. I can show you my J&C, my judgment and commitment. And I don't know if they did their own research on me on the outside, but after like a day, everybody was completely cool with me. And you know, just now, if I would have been a sex offender, doesn't mean I would have gotten beat up or anything like that. Those groups of guys would not have associated with me. I basically would have been required to go associate with other SOs or other sex offenders that were either in the unit or on the compound. And that pretty much goes with like where you sit down and where you eat dinner. Like you're not going to go sit in the chow hall. If you're a sex offender, you're not going to go sit in the chow hall with everybody else. I mean, you're going to go in the same chow hall, but you're going to have your own table. Sex offenders have their own groups, and there's plenty of them. So there are definitely plenty of sex offenders within a low security prison where they have plenty of people to go spend their days with, and you know, it's a whole nother world. And we deal with a lot of sex offenders now that are getting ready to go into the prison system that are terrified, and they all ask me, should we lie? Should we not tell why we're there? And the thing is what I tell everybody is, if you're going to get questioned while you're in prison. It's not like when you're in county, when you're still going through your pre-trial. When you're going through pre-trial, you don't talk about your case because you don't know who might be trying to get information to get you in trouble so they can get themselves out of trouble. But once you've been sentenced and now you're in your prison term and you started your prison sentence, they're going to ask you what your crime was and they're going to want some detail. And if you're a sex offender and you go in and you say, well, I don't want to talk about it, that's a red flag. They're automatically just going to assume. Or if you say, oh, it's for, I was internet privacy or pirating or hacking, they're going to think maybe you're lying and maybe you're a sex offender. So the best thing I can say, if you're a sex offender, my suggestion, my advice would be just say, hey, I'm in here for one of those crimes that people do not tolerate. I'm in here for a child pornography crime. It is what it is. I can't undo it. So I understand. I'm going to do what I got to do to get through my time, and I'll stay out of your way, just stay out of my way. That type of an attitude. And usually you'll get more respect from the compound than you would if you're lying and they find out you were lying. Because the last thing somebody wants to do is have you in their circle of friends, think you're cool, and then find out a month later, 2 months later that you were lying. Now they feel betrayed, they feel conned, they feel scammed. And it's just a way for them to justify what they did is better than what you did. I'm not saying sex offender crime is better or worse. I'm just saying that that's just what prison mentality is. So you just got to kind of deal with it for what it is. So to answer your question, Chevy, got off on a little on a tyrant there. It probably, I would say within like a day and a half, I was pretty comfortable. The first day is just so surreal and you're just taking it all in. And how do you use the computer? How do you use the email? How do you purchase on commissary? What time do I got to be ready for lunch again? What do I have to wear? You know, lunch I can wear just a t-shirt. Dinner I got to, you know, just getting to know the system and the flow of what you need to do. You know, just like anything new. Brand new job. Takes you a couple days to get used to the job. Brand new anything. You go to a new class. First day of school. You know, by second or third day, it just becomes routine. So just getting engaged in that routine of whatever your routine is going to be is probably the most difficult hurdle that you're going to hit going in, but it only takes a couple of days and it goes by fast. It's like a phase. Your mind just kind of like fades right through it. My brother was sentenced to 18 years for sexual abuse of a minor and recently was transferred from the classification center to the Maryland Correctional Training Center in Hagerstown Medium Security Prison. And they said he was in administrative segregation pending a hearing, but didn't say why. The reason was you may put in administrative. So he's probably better off in it, because if he's in, you know, I'm not sure what custody level he's in. Do you know if he's in a camp, a low? Or, I'm not a camp, I'm sorry. A low or a medium? If he's in a medium, he's probably better off being in like the SHU or holding, because if you're in a medium, you're out in general public, there may be people there that just not only approve of what your crime was, but they have such long sentences that they're willing to go out and do bodily harm to a sex offender. So if you're at a medium or a pen and you've got a sex offense crime, my heart goes out to you, because that is not the place you want to be. Thank you, Dan. I send an email. Have a great day. I hope you are blessed. You got it, Gianni. I'll double check that for you, and I will respond after we wrap this up. How many people do we got in the room? We got 15. Okay, we got a decent amount. We got a decent amount of people watching. Chevy, if the day comes, what are things, documents, cash, clothing I should bring with me the day I surrender? Hey, El Gordo, how are you doing, my man? So surrendering, you know, you want to bring your ID, driver's license, state ID, whatever it is. You want to bring your social security card. If you have your birth certificate, you want. Now, okay, some people don't want to bring in their actual documents, fear of loss. So at the very least, bring in your ID card, bring in your photo ID with you, your actual ID. And if you want, you can bring a copy of your birth certificate and your social security card. Your case manager may say, hey, we want the original, and you can have the original sent in to him, you know, right away, no big deal, but show him you have it. Also, you can bring in cash. I don't recommend bringing in cash, because what if it gets lost? What if it gets put on the wrong account? What if you got a shady CO? I mean, we've got plenty of COs that have been under indictment, under investigation for doing things in the prison to make extra money. So maybe they pocket your money, you never know. I would have your spouse, your loved one, whoever on the outside, just do it through Western Union. Or if you're self-surrendering and you know your BOP number, which you should know, and once you've been designated, you know what prison you're going to, you can actually put money on your books before you leave through like Western Union. To me, that's the best way, because it's fast. It does not take a lengthy period of time. If you do it early enough in the day, it will be on your books that same day. You can start using it, whether it be phones, commissary, whatever it is. You'll have the money there. You know it's there. It's a little bit more of a secure transaction, less risk for other people's hands getting in and making mistakes. So I would say do that for sure. Other things you can bring in, you can wear a wedding ring, a pair of glasses. Wedding rings, glasses, things like that have to be under $100 value. I am verifying some stuff that I heard about Florence, Colorado, the camp. Somebody was told that you could, a certain color tennis shoe you could wear in and be able to keep it. So I am going to verify whether that is true or not. I am not sure. I have not heard that directly from anybody in there. And I do have a couple of people at Florence, Colorado. So I will double check to see if that is true. I would also attempt to bring in a piece of paper with all of your contact information on it. Not your contact information, but friends and family, people you plan on emailing or sending out mail to. You can also go onto the BOP's website. You can print out the visitation forms from the BOP's website, get those filled out ahead of time, bring them in with you. Because if you don't do that, when you get there, your case manager will give you visitation forms. You have to mail them to the people that are going to come visit you. They have to fill them out, mail them back in. Then they got to get approved. It can take, 2 weeks for that process. So if you bring them with you, submit them when you get there, the approval process can happen a little bit faster so you can start receiving visitations. But other than that, you can't wear any of your own street clothes in there. Can't bring anything with you. No books. Some places say you can bring a Bible. I've seen guys that their Bibles were sent back and they had to have them mailed in directly, like through a publisher, Amazon, something like that. So any books that you may want, a Bible that you may want, I would create yourself an Amazon account right now, make a wish list or a shopping cart, put the stuff that you want in there, make sure somebody has access to your Amazon account. And once you get there, have them send these items, and maybe not send them all at once, because you don't want 20 books at one time. Most prisons will only allow you to have like 3 to 5 books in your possession at any given time, like in your locker for storage space. So you get a couple of books sent in, you read them, you cycle them through the prison, give them away, submit them to the library, give them to a buddy, whatever, have some additional books come in. I don't believe the books count against your Bible. So I think it's a Bible plus whatever the amount of books you're allowed to have. So those are just some basic tips of what you can and can't bring with you. Just remember, you can't bring anything of luxury with you. No clothes, no pictures, nothing like that. Any of those things that you're allowed to have to be sent in after you're there. So just go there bare minimum so you don't create more headache and hassle for yourself. And then other things, if you're allowed to have it, it can be sent in at a later date. So don't freak out thinking that I forgot to bring something. It's the only way I can get it in. Tomorrow, visitors can only bring in Ziploc bags with some money and their car keys. No cell phones, no treats, no pencils, no paper, no photos. Tamara would know. She's been to visitations. Yeah, guys, make sure before you have friends and family come visit you, they check the BOP policy, specifically the prison policy that they're going to, for colors that they can't wear, types of clothing that they can't wear. You know, your guys, your women can't come in all super sexied out. There's a chance they will be denied access, and some of these family members drive 4 or 5 hours. Make sure you they wash their hands. I'd keep little like alcohol pads in their car. If they're pumping gas and we've seen people's families get denied because they have this light, like this UV light that they put over your hands. And if it gives a signal, they're denied because it's showing that they have some kind of substance on their hand. It could be a drug. It does give false positives all the time, but the best way to avoid that, have some hand sanitizer. Right before they come in, lather it up, make sure anything, if they touched dirty money or a gas pump while they're coming in there, or maybe they have, maybe they use marijuana because it's legal in so many places, you don't want that being a reason to get denied. Those are some things we've seen people's families get denied. Just know what's going on at that prison before somebody shows up. Don't just go, oh, show up on this day without doing your homework first. For the first visit, do your extra due diligence to make sure that you know what they're walking into. What's up, Ultimate? How are you doing, my man? Glad you could join us. So those are some basic things. And guys, if you haven't checked out the website yet, forgot to tell you. So we just opened our blog section on the website. We're getting ready to update a bunch of clients and their profiles and their bios in there. But right now we have a client on the website under blogger. If you hover over blogs, there's a featured blogger section on there. And one of our first guys that we have on there right now is Michael Fresco. He was a police officer in South Florida who ended up getting indicted and getting in trouble. And you can Google him, read all about his story. We will have his bio up on there. He is now in prison, and he's been blogging from prison, telling us what's going on at the prison he's at. So if you want to go ahead and check over our website, rdapdan.com, just on the blog section, you'll see, if you hover over it, you'll see featured bloggers, and Michael Fresco is up on there. We will have some additional bloggers that are going to be on there very soon. We're receiving stories right now from a lot of our clients that are in. Tomorrow is going to be one of our featured bloggers on there, both talking about her story as the mother of an inmate, as well as what her son has. Her son started off at a camp. Tamara's son started off at a camp, got into an altercation, was then transferred to a low. He's at Yazoo Low, which is run very much like a medium, and because of the violence that's taken place in that prison, he put himself into solitary confinement, where he's been pretty much for a decent period of time right now. And it'll be interesting to hear his thought process of where he was and how much he wishes he had just stayed at the camp and stayed out of trouble and didn't engage, because now he had to change his entire living style while in prison. So that will be some information that we'll hopefully have on the blog soon. And the whole idea of the blog is, for the featured bloggers, is prison-related content for people that are either going through the system, have a friend or a family member going through the system on specific prisons. So if you yourself may be getting sentenced and you find out where you're going, if you go Google the prison you're going to, what you'll find out right now is there's not a whole lot of relevant information that is up to date with a specific prison. So what we're planning to do, and what we're already in the works of doing, is creating content that is relevant to today's day and age with the time frame we're in to what's going on at these specific prisons. What programs are available, what the food is like, what activities are available, when the next RDAP class starts. A lot of you were just sentenced, or I'm sorry, just got your designation and have rather short sentences, and now we're trying to find out when the next RDAP class starts to make sure we can coincide that with when you're surrendering so you do not miss the cutoff for the residential drug addiction program. Those are just some of the things that we try to work on for you guys. Can RDAP inmates have visitors? Absolutely, MM. It's a strange question. Did somebody tell you that they can't? RDAP inmates can definitely have visitation. Thank you, Tamara. Appreciate that. Are police that go to prison treated the same as everyone else, or do they have a separate place for them? Camps and lows, police are pretty much treated just like everybody else. I imagine mediums and pens, depends. Really depends. I don't have a lot of police that are in. Those of you that, if you go back to some of my older videos, I did a video with Justin Velope. He was an inmate that I met while I was at the low, and he got in trouble years ago. He's been in prison for like 17 years already, something like that. He got in trouble for, he was the guy that put a nightstick up a black gentleman's rear end, and it was a hate crime. It was violent. I mean, it was just all over the media and all over the news. And I know he started off in some higher securities and said, it was a rough go. He's at a low now where he has no issues. He's just trying to finish out his time, and definitely you can tell that he's learned from his mistakes. And look, people make stupid fucking mistakes. Not to justify and say Justin's mistake is better or worse, or he deserves a second chance. That's up for people to decide whether or not they think somebody deserves a second chance or not. However, I've had several interactions with Justin walking the compound, and he's not the same person that made those mistakes back then. He has repented. He has found a way to forgive himself. He is very apologetic to the family that he caused this harm to. Wishes he could undo it. He can't. He's got to live with that for the rest of his life. So, it's going to be a rough go for him, but he's doing what he needs to do. We also have some interviews that we've done with some prison wives. A lot of the questions we get are women that support men going into prison, or women that meet men that are already, this is more, not so much, okay, so there's a different level here. So let me explain. If you're the wife of somebody that just got sentenced to like 40 months, 60 months, 8 years, 9 years, and you guys have been married, you've been in a relationship for a long time, this is not necessarily talking to you. The question I get from a lot of people are, how do women engage in a relationship with somebody that's already in prison? How do women go on these pen pal sites, fall in love with these men, get married to them while they're in prison? Some of them are serving life sentences, 20 years, and they know it's going to be a very long period of time before they're actually able to possibly even be with this person. What causes them to do this? And a lot of people ask me, are these women damaged? Is there something wrong with them? Were they, mistreated as a young girl? Did they have something traumatizing happen in their life? And I don't know the answer to that because I've never gone through that personally. So I have reached out to a couple of women that have been willing to talk about their story and why they're in these relationships. And they've actually made videos that they've posted to me that we're going to be turning into a little video, and to give you guys some insight from where their point of view is. And then we'll open up for Q&A after that to make a response video, maybe have them come on live and talk to you guys once we release this video, hopefully next week. During the middle of the week, I should have this video. I'm trying to get a few additional women's opinions and point of view on this. Right now I have 2, and I have 2 more that are working on answering the questions that we had. And I think that would be a really interesting video because I'm interested to know, I find it would be really hard to start dating somebody that was already in prison that you really maybe didn't know before. So to me, that's a very interesting topic. So I'm interested in the concept of that video for sure. No one said that. I just thought the working in class, I didn't know. Can RDAP inmates, no one said that. I just thought with working in classes. Yeah, so so when you're in RDAP, you know, obviously you have requirements of RDAP. So RDAP will tell you, hey, do your best to schedule your visitations around RDAP, like, because you don't RDAP on the weekends. So they'll tell you, try to save your visitations for the weekend. However, some people have family and friends that can only visit during, we call them treatment hours, during RDAP hours, and they can't stop you from having a visit. Now, if your visits become an issue, like you're getting visits every week and you're losing hours from your RDAP, they can recycle you, and they can say you're not going to graduate because you have to have 500 hours of RDAP. RDAP is a 500-hour or more program. So you have to have a minimum of 500 hours to graduate the program. So they schedule it so the 10 months and the amount of days that are in that if you hit every day, you're going to have over the 500 hours. So there is a little bit of wiggle room there where if an emergency happens, you have a visitation, you know, maybe there's no RDAP that day because of a storm or, you know, holidays or whatever. They have enough, just like sick days, snow days in school, they have enough days where they can consider makeup days. But if it became a problem and you're trying to beat the system going, well, I'm going to schedule visitations for every Monday and Tuesday instead of going to RDAP, and I'm going to go hang out with my family for 8 hours a day in the visitation room, eventually RDAP's going to say, hey, you know, I know you got to see your family. We understand that's first, but you're not going to graduate RDAP because you're not going to have your 500 hours. So you got to make a decision. You know, you want to get home sooner, or do you want to, you know, go to your visitations? So those are some things to think about while you're in there. Eminem. ID required for visitation and know their number. Tomorrow, you're referring to the inmate ID, right? You got to have your, where's mine at? There it is. So when you go to visitation, I mean, you have to have this on you at all times anyway. If you go into federal prison, that's what your ID is going to look like. So you have to have your ID on you at all times when you're out on, now not if you're in your unit. If you're in your unit, walking around inside your unit, you can have it, whatever, put away. I had a wallet. I wish I could find my wallet. I had a wallet somebody made me in prison, and that's where I kept my prison ID. Actually, you guys want to see my prison wallet? Let's show you my prison wallet. So this was my prison wallet that somebody made me in a leather shop. A little worn and beaded, but we'll show it to you here. So it's just a little wallet. And for somebody to hand make that is not is not bad. I mean, this is all made from scratch, you know. And so I used to keep that on me. Just like that, stick it in my pocket, and whenever you're out on the compound, anywhere, you've got to have this on you at all times. You can't not go somewhere without your ID. If you get stopped, it's like the cops pulling you over. We used to call it pullovers. If you get pulled over, and they do random checks, it's like a DUI stop check. If you get pulled over in a random check and you don't have your ID on you, you can get a shot for it and you can get in trouble. And usually it's not a serious shot, but if you get caught without your ID on you, they'll usually give you like a punishment. Like we had this pink push lawnmower. It was a lawnmower, a push one, and it was pink. And you'd have to wear your full uniform, and you have to go cut grass that's already cut. You push this damn pink lawnmower around for, you know, maybe an hour. I never had to do that. I always had my ID on me. Plus, I was in RDAP. So I already knew if you're in RDAP, you're getting extra harassed by the cops. It's like we had a target on us. And they saw these bracelets or the lanyard. We had to wear this in RDAP. All day during treatment hours. Had to have your RDAP lanyard on. And basically, your RDAP lanyard is a photocopy of your prison ID. So it looks exactly the same. It's just a photocopy of it. And you have to have it on you 24/7. So you stick out like a sore thumb. You've got your lanyard and you've got your RDAP band on. So other COs on the compound know that you're an RDAP and you stick out. So if you're doing something you're not supposed to do and you get hit, man, you are in trouble. What some guys would try to do is they would try to sneak into other units to get a haircut. Because in RDAP, you're not allowed in other units regardless, like A, B, and C unit. Like in RDAP is C2. So in C unit, you have 4 pods. You have C1, C2, C3, and C4. You're only allowed to go to your assigned unit, ever. So the only time you can go to another unit is if you're being brought there, or maybe there's a class taking place in another unit. Other than that, you can't go in another unit. Some of these other units are where the barbers will do like personal haircuts, and the units don't care. RDAP cares, but the units don't care. So guys would sneak into these other units and they would take their bands off so they didn't stick out like a sore thumb, and take their lanyard off. And man, if they got caught, it was so bad, because it's not a simple mistake. It's not like, oh, I forgot my ID. It's like you're manipulating. You took your lanyard off. You took your bracelet off. You're really going through some motions to not get caught. Tomorrow, visitor ID. Yes, so tomorrow is referring to the visitor ID. Whoever's coming to see you has to have ID on them. They got to bring it in with a little plastic bag with their quarters or dollar bills in there that you're going to use for the vending machine, and your ID. That's all you can have on you as a visitor. But yeah, so that's the wallet that we had in prison. And there was way nicer ones than this. I think I paid $5 for this wallet. And I was just happy to have a wallet because I kept a lot of things in here. I kept pictures in here. I kept a phone list in here. And I had my ID in here, and anything else. Like if somebody gave me like a phone number that I needed, you know, you don't have like a lot of stuff to put things when you're walking around. So, you know, put it in my wallet, stick it in my pocket. And it was nice having a wallet because it's something that you're comfortable with. It reminds you, it gives you a little bit of peace of home, because we all had wallets at home. You know, my wallet to this day doesn't look a whole lot different than that. Actually it does, because now my wallet's part of my phone and it's, you know, on my phone. But that's going to change because I'm not too happy with that clunky wallet. But yeah, so that's the wallet. So yeah, Tamara's got all kinds of good information, guys. She's been going through this for a while, especially as a loved one. She's got really good insight as to what loved ones on the outside go through and what to expect. So we'll just wear the RDAP lanyard for the rest of the video here. So what else we got going on? How long is this video right now? Doesn't tell me on this screen. We must be getting up there in time, I would imagine. You got, that's good to know, since my family is 7 to 9 hours away. MM, when are you going, MM? Have you already been sentenced and everything? What other questions you guys got while we're hanging out here on this free-flowing Saturday? You know, really today was just to kind of let you guys know about the lineup for next week. And for those of you that missed it, that didn't catch us early on, what we're doing next week, Monday, we're having a interview. It's going to be a really interesting interview. It's going to be with a client of ours named Scott Partick, who was sentenced yesterday. He's going to be coming on Monday to talk about his journey, where his mind frame was at before all of this, where his mind frame was during it, how he got to know me, how we implemented a plan, how that plan helped him, and how it affected how it ultimately affected the day of sentencing, which was yesterday. So he's really excited to come on and tell you guys about his journey. That's going to be a lot of fun and really educational, and also a good point of reference for a lot of you that are uncertain as to what you should do. And for those of you that are uncertain, does any of this really work? That will be a great interview for you guys to see. Wednesday is going to be with Amy Povah, who is the creator and founder of Can Do Foundation. She works big on helping people receive reduced sentences, clemency, that are serving like life sentences for nonviolent drug offenses, nonviolent drug crimes. She wants to come out and explain what it is that her charity does in order to help, and has helped so many people already. There's a voice behind every story they have. There's a voice and a person behind it. And she has just been an amazing force that has helped create so much additional policy that's in place right now. And it all started just from somebody identifying that there was an issue and somebody that was willing to take action. So we're blessed to be able to have Amy Povah with us on Wednesday. Saturday, we try to keep our Saturdays light and entertaining. Believe it or not, one of the biggest questions we always get are, prison commissary and items and food and what do you guys eat and what can you make and how bad was the food. So not talking about the prison food that's prepared for you. We're going to be focusing on commissary food dishes that you can make. You know, we've talked about it: prison pizzas, prison nachos, prison burritos, prison cakes, prison cheesecakes, all these, prison fried rice. You guys have already seen the prison fried rice video. But Croson, who is going to be with us, Brandon Croson, and we're going to call this segment Cooking with Croson. And if it goes well, we might bring him back either every Saturday or every other Saturday and do a segment where we go get a list of items that you can typically only get on commissary. So we're going to do our best to get what we can get as close to commissary items as possible and show you guys what you have to look forward to prison dishes in prison. So a little bit of entertainment there for all of you. Some of the services that we offer that help a lot of you that are going through this. We talk about, you know, the coaching, obviously. We talk about the preparation for the personal narrative, the character reference letters, qualifying for RDAP. And some of you, when you find us soon enough, it makes it easier to help you qualify for RDAP because we're able to guide you through the process before your pre-sentence report. Once you do your pre-sentence report, depending on what you say during that interview, can have a huge determining factor of whether or not you qualify for RDAP or do not qualify for RDAP, beyond other things that are out of your control, like the type of crime you have, how much time you're going to be sentenced to. But as far as qualifying based on your crime, based on what you say during the interview process, that is one of the big services that we help people guide them through that system. If you come to us after that fact and that information was not disclosed into your pre-sentence report, then there has to be the assistance of a substance abuse professional that comes in and does an evaluation to determine whether or not you had a substance abuse issue, whether it be drinking, alcohol, prescription pills, even if it's prescriptions that you're taking as prescribed, but maybe abusing, or maybe you found yourself addicted to it. And when I say addicted, I'm not necessarily talking about the person that's fiending or going through withdrawals. You know, everybody has their own way of interpreting what an addiction is. So leave that up for the substance abuse professional to determine that. And if it is determined that you do have a substance abuse problem, then there's an evaluation write-up that's submitted in that can assist with the personal narrative in showing that you are a candidate that does need a residential drug addiction program to help you overcome these addictions to return to society the way you want to return. So there are some benefits even if you've already gone past your pre-sentence report. We also do pre-sentence preparation, making sure you know what goes into the pre-sentence report, helping you build a mentor network, making sure you're doing the right thing for the right reasons earlier on in your case versus later in your case can have tremendous impact on the outcome of your sentence, which Scott Partick will be here Monday to tell you guys all about firsthand. In addition to that, going out and doing community outreach, community service. These things make an immense difference at what could possibly happen, or it can make an immense difference. And we have some additional services like online reputation management. If your name has been beaten and battered through this entire process, through the government, through local media, whatever it may be, there may be an outlet for you to suppress some of that negative, replace it with some positive press. So when you do get out of prison and somebody Googles your name, that's not the first thing that they're going to see that could cause issues from getting a job, cause issues with your family. You just don't know where that's going to go. And anybody that has looked into online reputation management, there's two factors to keep in mind. One, online reputation management is not cheap. If you go Google any of these companies out there that do it, and I'm talking about companies in addition to prison consultants. I don't know any prison consultants that actually do it legitly or do it the right way. I know of a couple that offer it, but I'm not sure 100% what they do. And some of the pricing that I've seen some companies that offer it for like $500 or $800. The only way they could do that is if it's for $500 or $800 a month for a period of time. If you've actually done your research on what online reputation management is and what a typical cost from a reputable company would normally cost you, you will see some of these fees can range from 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, depending on what's needed. So it is case by case. We have an amazing team that's very, very well experienced in this specific industry that can produce amazing results. The other factor that you want to remember in online reputation management is it is not an overnight process. So if you're thinking, well, I'll take care of that when I get out of prison, that's fine, you can. But just remember that that process can take 8 months to a year and a half to become effective. So sometimes the best time to get started on online reputation management is while you're going into the prison system. So by the time you get out, a lot of the work has already been done. So just make sure you know what questions to ask. If you have more questions about online reputation management, please feel free to give us a call, give us a text. It doesn't cost anything to find out where you are and what it would cost to help you in your situation. But don't just go with the first person you talk to, because you may not really understand what it is you're getting. And if you don't know what you're supposed to get, how can you ask the right questions if you're just kind of blind? It's the same thing when hiring an attorney. A lot of people get upset with their attorneys because they feel like their attorneys didn't completely do their job. But how well prepared were you when you hired your attorney? What questions did you know to answer? Attorney gave you a flashy sales pitch, sounded great. You took a plea. You're not happy with it. You blame your attorney. You're filing a 2255 after the fact when you didn't do your homework early on. Prison consultants, attorneys, anything that you're going to hire somebody to do for you, make sure you know what it is you're getting. Make sure you know what competitors are offering. Don't just base it on price. I'm not saying price isn't a factor. Price should always be a factor, because make sure you're not being taken advantage of or getting charged exorbitant fees where somebody else might be able to do a much better, fluent job, giving you additional benefit and services for a reduced price. So you want to know all these areas. The more educated you are, the more questions you're going to ask. And what will happen is you'll weed out the bullshit real quick. Because if somebody doesn't have legitimate services to offer and they're using fear, they're going to get frustrated with your string of questions, and they're going to feel like they're being interrogated, and they're probably going to end the call with you because they realize they don't have what it takes to really give you what you need. And you're not a good, they're looking for that lay down, oh, please help me, I'm terrified. Using the whole fear factor. Stay away from that. Plenty of prison consultants will hit you up on that. And so he's not in here right now, but we have a client. And man, when I tell you this guy put me through the ringer, he asked so many legit questions. I'm like, this is either competition or this is like the federal government questioning to find out if we're legitimate or not, because this guy, he questioned me so well. And I mean, anything that we do, he had a question about it. Well, how do you do this? Not how specifically, but the process and what we do and what makes us different from other people, you know. And I'm not going to sit here and bash every other prison consultant, because what's that going to do for me? Does that make me look like I'm throwing rocks? I feel like our services kind of stand out for itself, and our awesome clients that come on here and talk stands out for itself. I don't need to do that to get business. And what I tell everybody is you do not need to lie to people to get business in this industry. If you're doing the right thing for the right reasons and you're really trying to help people, this is a 100% legitimate, much needed service. Even attorneys are starting to recognize it. Scott Partick, who we're going to be talking to tomorrow, his attorney was so impressed with what we've done and the letters and the narrative and the personal narrative and the character reference letters and how we prepared him, that he specifically told his client, this is really amazing work. This is something that everybody going through this process could benefit from. And it's just unfortunate a lot of this was not known before all of this took place. There's a lot of prison consultants out there that try to like keep it hush hush and keep it under secret. And no, man, let's let everybody know. Let's let the world know. Because at the end of the day, I could tell you exactly what to do for free. You still need somebody that's going to be there to motivate you, that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to process this through, that's going to use their experience to help you benefit. So even if I told the average person how to do it, they're still going to hire us. Because it's not about the know-how, it's about following through and somebody that's actually been there and can actually do it. So we're your guy, I hope. Man, standing up makes me out of breath. It's like my abs start hurting standing here. I don't know if I'm like trying not to look fat, so I'm sucking in the whole time. But anyway, yeah, my abs hurt. Don't know yet. Sentencing maybe February 1st or be continued once again. Cramming to get things done. Feel free to give me a call anytime, MM. My information's right there on that screen. It's legit information. I get phone calls all the time. They're like, is this RDAP Dan? I'm like, it sure is. Yeah, I got your information off your video. Just wasn't sure if this was a real phone number. I hope somebody wouldn't be out there posting videos with a fake phone number asking people to call them. That would be kind of self-sabotaging, I would imagine. Leah, excited about next week. Me too. Now, keep in mind, things always change. I gave you guys what to expect for next week. Now, God forbid something happens, somebody can't show up. I'll still be here. We'll talk about something. Very thirsty. But I can't promise that everybody's always going to be able, things come up, you know. We just got to go with the flow. Just like I told you guys, we can have the plan. But if something throws a wrench into your plan, you got to be willing to go with the flow and make changes, positive changes. Don't dwell on the negativity. That's what my RDAP band tells me every day. So that's all I got today for you guys. I think I'm going to go eat some lunch. I haven't had, actually breakfast lunch. I haven't had anything to eat yet, and it is exactly 2 o'clock. So we've been going for 1 hour as we speak. So we're going to wrap this video up. I appreciate you all for joining in, hanging out with us for this power hour on Happy Saturday or Freaky Saturday or whatever we want to call it today. But you guys have all been amazing. Thank you so much for helping us hit 2,000 subscribers. We hit it officially yesterday. I took a screenshot on my phone with 2,000. Very excited about that. It's because of people just like you making these things, making everybody's dreams and realities kind of blend in. So you guys are all awesome and amazing. I'm RDAP Dan. Every day, people helping people, one day at a time, one day at a time. Community's method. I love every single one of you. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys Monday. All right, guys. Take care and peace.